start with, we actually started our public outreach back in June last year, and we had a public meeting. Can I get a quick show of hands of people who came to that meeting? Okay, good. Welcome back. A lot of what you're going to hear is very similar to what you heard in June, although we have an additional purpose today. But at the time, we said that we would be back once the application was submitted and we were going to start our review. And that's why we're here today. Before I get into the specific presentation, I did want to make a quick comment. There was some concern about the timing of the meeting notice for today's meeting. It actually came out on Christmas Eve, and I know that there were some comments about it coming out at that time. We are obligated to do things in a certain time frame. And as we try to identify locations and venues for the meeting, once that gets tied down, then there are certain things that we have to do in certain periods of time. And unfortunately, the timing was such that it came out just before Christmas. However, we try to have the meeting very early on in the scoping period. As you'll hear later, you'll be able to submit comments not only today, but through mid-February. So we believe that there's still plenty of time for anyone who, for some reason, may not have been able to make the meeting, people that you may know wanted to come and couldn't. Please let them know that there's still ample opportunity to provide their comments. In addition, there's plenty of contact information that Mike's going to give to you later, so that if there are any issues that you want to bring up, you'll be able to do that. Okay, so let me go on and start with the formal presentation. Okay, let's start with the purpose of the meeting. In Washington, there's a very popular clothing store, and in their advertisement they say, "An educated consumer is our best customer." And I like that saying, and I think it really exemplifies what we try to do throughout the review, but in particular during the scoping period. The more educated you are about the NRC, who we are, what we do, why we do it, and how we do it, as well as the specifics of this Comanche Peak application, the more you understand it, the better able you are to provide us with information to help us do our job better. And that's the main reason why we're here today. So, an educated consumer is our best customer. And that education goes both ways. If there is one thing that I'd like for you to take away from today's meeting, is the importance of really taking the time to understand what is going on with the application and with the staff's review. The better you understand it, the better able you are to provide useful information to us. And we are here to help you in that endeavor. Now, I understand that we have different levels of knowledge and experience in the audience. There are some folks, this may be your first entry into trying to understand this whole process, and there are other people who have been doing it for forever, know it like the back of their hand. It is important for those people who are new to really, when we get to the question period, ask what you feel like you need to ask. If there are things that we're discussing and it's going over your head, let us know and we'll try to explain it. It is very important that everybody be as educated as possible about the process. So, having said that, our primary purpose here today is to solicit input to the environmental scoping process. That will go on through mid-February. We're going to explain the National Environmental Policy Act, which generally you've heard as NEPA, which is a statutory obligation that we have to identify the environmental impacts associated with this project, and Mike will talk more about that. We'll discuss the schedule for the environmental review, and most importantly, how you can participate in this process. Okay. Quick overview of what's going to happen. My part is relatively brief and very high level. I'll discuss the licensing process, and after that I'll turn it over to Mike, who will give more detail and discuss some of the specifics in the environmental review, the hearings, and public involvement. This is my last slide, and then I'll sit down. We wanted to identify the participants in this process. As you can see, we have basically three columns of participants. I'm actually going to start in the far right. Luminant submitted an application asking for a license to build and operate 2 units at the current Comanche Peak site. They are the applicant. Okay? When they submitted their application, then the first column comes to us at the NRC. Within the agency, we have a number of entities, all of which have specific roles and responsibilities. At the top of that is the commission. The commission is made up of 5 commissioners. They have the ultimate responsibility for saying yay or nay to the license request. There's the staff, that's us. We do the heavy lifting both on the safety side and the environmental side to assess the adequacy of the proposed action. There are hearing boards, Atomic Safety Licensing Board, which will look at both the environmental review that the staff does as well as the safety review. That's also an opportunity where the public gets to participate, and the hearing board will also weigh in on their view of whether or not the license should be issued. And finally, the Advisory Committee on Reactor Safeguards. This is a group that really deals more on the safety side as opposed to the environmental side, but they're there to ensure that the staff does a thorough and robust review to identify the safety aspects of the proposed action. Middle column, most importantly, are the stakeholders. And as you can see that there are many different folks who constitute stakeholders. There are the residents of the community, of which many of you are. There are public interest groups, of which there are some here today. There are other federal agencies. Getting a license from the NRC is necessary, but it is not sufficient. We are not the only ones who issue licenses and permits that are required in order to build and operate the plant. There are other federal agencies as well as state agencies, local entities, and tribal officials and others, all of which have a stake in this process. And as part of our environmental review, we try to engage with many of those other stakeholders to ensure that we're getting the best information, the best input from everyone who has a stake in the process. So that is a very broad and general overview of the licensing process. I'm going to turn it over to Mike Willingham, who will get into some of the details. And when we get to the question and answer session, we are more than happy to try and answer any questions that you may have. We have a number of our staff experts in a number of different areas. We haven't brought in everybody, so some of the questions that you asked we may not be able to get to today, but if we can, we'll make sure we get you an answer. But we did bring a number of people. Hopefully we can answer, at least cover most of the questions. And then the most important part, when we get to the point where we listen to you and you provide your comments and input and things primarily to help us with our review, to make sure that we are effective, efficient, and that we do a thorough and robust, we come out with a thorough and robust product in our environmental impact.